Well, how's it going? I'm speaking to you in the midst of a heat wave. Um, yeah, melting a little bit. Not used to this weather, just not used to this weather, and I don't think you guys will be used to this vest either. But yeah, I'm speaking to you in the middle of a heat wave, but we are also talking hours away from the release of the new Muse album, The Wild Signal. It is coming out at midnight tonight. We've got a lot to look forward to, so that'll be really fun. Really enjoy whenever new content comes out from Muse, whether that be the singles that surprise us, or whether that be albums that provide us with some joy. But the reason I wanted to bring this up isn't necessarily to talk about the album, because I'm sure we're going to enjoy the music. We're going to enjoy the stuff that we haven't heard yet. Yes, we've heard Unraveling. Yes, we've heard Hexagons. Yes, we've heard Be With You. We've heard Cryogen. We've heard, oh my god, Night Shift Superstar. We've heard them, so far, and we, of course, going to look forward to the rest of them. And that'll be fun. That will be fun. But let's be honest. It's not the singles and it's not the albums that make Muse so special. It is the live performances. Now, I am not an OG Muse fan. I was one of the wave that started listening to Muse from like 2006, the Black Holes and Revelations time. That was the first album I ever listened to. So I haven't really heard things from the start. It would have been amazing to have been part of the concerts back in the past, but it is the live performances that make Muse Muse. I went to the Second Law in Coventry was it 2013? God, that was a long time ago. And, I had the privilege of going to the Will of the People tour in Manchester in 2022. And that is what makes Muse special. You don't believe me? Check out their performances. That is public for anyone to see, whether that be the harp performance in Wembley from 2008, I want to say, or whether that be the Paris performance from 2001, or the Second Law tour from Rome in 2012. That's what makes Muse Muse. Is the way that they will turn songs into a performance. The studio versions, they're good, but live shows bring it on another level. And the reason why I bring this up, why I bring this special part of Muse up, is that one of the things that made the live performances so special was actually how affordable they were. You would have this huge performance, pyrotechnics the lot, insanity, making you want to dance from song one to final song. Yes, dance during a rock performance. And yet the tickets were affordable despite the size of the band. Now, the Second Law tour, I wasn't old enough to buy the tickets myself, but I know that they were £30 each. And even in terms of the last tour, the Will of the People tour, went the Manchester gig tickets, they were £35. Very affordable considering the performance that you're going to. However, just 4 years later on, from the Will of the People tour, that £35 ticket, here is what we're looking at. 4 tickets to the same venue, around the same time, with the same band. We're looking at about £113 for that same ticket. Now, you recognise this sort of layout, and you see Ticketmaster, thinking it might be a hike of the prices. There are other places where you can get the tickets from, and here's another good example, and it's actually more expensive at C-Tickets than it is at Ticketmaster. Ticketmaster is actually the cheapest at the moment, that £113.70 price. And the reason why I bring this up is I've seen it across social media, I knew that the tickets were expensive on social media before I checked them out myself, because people were complaining about them. And I suppose the thing that I've seen a lot is there are fingers being pointed at Muse for dynamic pricing, for the costs of these tickets. Is that fair? Well, potentially yes, potentially no. And I kind of want to bring this sort of like balanced argument. This helped us to see the full picture, everything going on that could potentially be having an impact on why the prices have basically quadrupled in their price. I suppose the first thing to talk about is the band itself, right? Let's talk about this from a human level, from the band itself. Now, of course, we are in a different time period to the days of the 60s, where you'd have the Beatles in a VW camper van going up and down the country and sleeping and everything like that. But sometimes we forget this. The band has to travel. That has to be incorporated as part of the pricing for a tour. It's kind of the reason why you're not going to see, even though they would love to perform in every country in the world, you're not going to see them necessarily performing in every country in the world for cost reasons. It's why tours have to be thoroughly planned out, because to make them cost effective for the band. And part of that includes travel, not just for those three, but for their instruments, for the props, for the lighting. Oh, and by the way, when I mention props, I don't mean your little props. If anyone saw the 2022 tour, or of the People, or the Simulation Theory tour, they go full out on their props. Huge, monstrous sized props, impressive props, incredible props. All of that's got to travel. All of that's got to be set up. All of that has got to be traveling around. That is essentially the Muse props, right? Being traveled around the world, the country, the lots, right? And here's the thing when it comes to travel. The price of fuel. Now, all of us, I'm sure, have been impacted by the price of fuel because of everything that's going on. But actually, I'm not even talking about car fuel, because that is bad enough on its own, in its pricing, its availability. But then you can add aviation fuel. These guys are travelling from country to country. Before they go to the UK, come back to the UK, they're doing a US tour. So they're flying across America, flying across the UK. They've got to make it affordable for all. And aviation fuel, it is one of the rarest resources that I know about. There are flights that are not being done for businesses because of the rarity of aviation fuel. Which means if the aviation fuel is not available, they're being travelled by ferry. Even more time, even more money. That is a huge part of the expense. But that's the band, right? That's the stuff that the band has to deal with itself. Now, of course, the big obvious one is Ticketmaster themselves, ticket companies, the ticket touts, all that sort of thing, that there are potentially naughty things that are going on in the background to make the pricing more premium than it needs to be. If you're watching this channel, and especially the World Cup one that I posted, we've seen that. We saw it with FIFA, and the way in which the ticketing has gone, where tickets get cancelled last minute and they end up being cheaper and everything like that. So there could be some dodgy business going on from Ticketmaster, and I don't think anyone's above that. But that applies to everybody. that applies to everybody. So I'm not going to think about that too much, because this, in a sense, could be something that could change in a few months' time once the hype over it has gone. Maybe a couple of months after listening to the wow signal, and a couple of months of the tickets being made available, it might get cheaper, potentially, right? It's just a chance. But that's an unknown. That's something we can't talk about. But again, another thing we can talk about is, in a sense, that map, that venue. And again, we are in a situation where the pricing is kind of out of everyone's control. I mentioned lights. They're going to take up power. Now, is the venue paying for it? Is the band paying for it? Well, either way, it's going to be reflected in the tickets. Rents, there's getting the venue in the first place, and as the price of the building increases and the price of the, hiring it increases, again, increasing the price of the tickets. Then you got the things we don't think about. The water, the toilets. Just everything, right? Everything costs money, and we're just in a situation where everything costs a little bit more money. And all those things pile up on top of each other. Even more than you would expect. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying it doesn't suck. Of course it does. I would adore to go to another Muse gig. I had so much fun at the Will of the People tour. I was standing in my seat the entire time. Didn't even notice that my legs were going to jelly because of standing for so long. It was a rock party. It was fun. Reminded me of just how bloody good this band is. And I'd love to go to this one. I don't think I can afford it based on this. So I'm also a fan, hoping the prices go down. I suppose what I'm trying to say here is that it's a really complicated issue. And we can be mad at the world for pricing being this expensive. Like I say, prices basically quadrupling in their cost. But it's really, really difficult to try and identify the cause, the source of the problem. Now, if these tickets end up being, I don't know, £50 in 3 months' time, then we know it's Ticketmaster being jerks. Fantastic. Very easy to make Ticketmaster the bad guy. They've been the bad guy for years. But if it doesn't go down, maybe it's something we're just going to have to accept. These live performances are premiums nowadays. Maybe we'll have to accept that things just aren't affordable anymore. I am looking forward to the album, of course, in a few hours time, and I know this is a bit of a shorter than normal video, and I suppose what I'm trying to say is it feels like we're doing everyone a disservice just by pointing fingers at the moment. It might not be Muse's fault. They might be Matthew Bellamy, Chris Wolstenholme, Dom Howard. They might be just as annoyed at this as we are. Because at the end of the day, the style of their music is very much a for the people style of music. You can't really do songs about protests and rebellion if the pricing isn't for the people, It's not exactly worthwhile doing a song that's targeted at the working class if only the upper class can afford it, It's kind of pathetic for that reason, The rich people go to operas, not, protest rock songs. That's just part and parcel, But yeah, if they might be just as mad about this as we are. And who knows what might happen in the future, right? But yeah, to my fellow Muse fans who want to go to a live show, I mean, firstly, let me know if you have bought tickets and which show you're going to. That'd be amazing. But if you haven't and you really wanted to and you've been priced out, firstly, give it some time. You never know what might happen. It might go down because of the dynamic pricing situation. But secondly, it might not be the fault of the person who you think it is. So let's continue to be kind to each other. Continue to show support to each other. Continue to unite, because that is kind of the purpose behind music. And who knows what might happen. We might end up with a situation where we can all afford it, we can all enjoy it, we can all have fun together. We will be back doing our usual videos, the F1 videos, the football videos on Tuesday for the Austrian Grand Prix. I'll be definitely enjoying the Wow Signal new album coming tomorrow. And until next time, guys, all that's left to say is don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and take care.